If you told me that Class 1A and Class 1B would be the ones to try and stop Gigantomachia, I would have said you were nuts. You're crazy. But now, they may be the only ones that can stop him. What's up? It's Truth Hero, and welcome back to another My Hero Academia chapter review. Boku no Hero Academia chapter 278 of the manga. We'll go through everything from Gigantomachia on the move to Midnight's noble sacrifice, and of course Class 1A and Class 1B coming together and deciding that they will be the ones to face Machia and the Paranormal Liberation Front. Let's dive in. The chapter starts with Jiro, Miss Earphone Jack, telling everyone that there is something really large coming. This is a big deal, guys. Mineta and the rest of the students are like, wait, what happened to the heroes? Why is our situation getting worse? Gigantomachia happened, that's what. The pro heroes on the comms are saying, hey, all you heroes on the front lines, don't fall back because behind you are these student interns. And I don't really like this because if you're so worried about them, why'd you bring them on this mission? Either have faith in them as future heroes and leaders in this hero society, or leave them back at school. We then cut over to Gigantomachia, who's running with the League of Villains on his back, and Mr. Compress says, hey, what happened? And Spinner's like, I don't know, I was underground and all of a sudden here I am. Can you imagine if Gigantomachia just picked you up and said, hey, we're going for a ride? Okay, whatever you say, sir. I'll listen to you. Dabi says Shigaraki must have done something because Gigantomachia wasn't supposed to move this early or be this fast. Even the League of Villain members don't know what's happening. Remember back to when Shigaraki actually summoned Gigantomachia? He says, it's time to destroy it all. And I'm wondering if the League of Villains know that this part of the plan is coming or if they're prepared for it. I think it'd be really interesting if Shigaraki had some part of his plan still hidden from them and he's not telling them something. These pro heroes, on the other hand, who can't do a single thing against Gigantomachia are really surprised. They're like, this guy is the big player? More like a walking disaster. Come on guys, we have to do everything we can to help Mount Lady. But come on, I mean, she's struggling. Nothing they do is gonna matter. We then flash over to Giten, who's like, what a mess, look at all these heroes. And the heroes are like, oh man, this ice guy? As Giten lines up his next attack, that's right, I got the gender right this time, Cementos prepares a cement wall and shield for all the heroes. I don't know about you, but I've never seen Cementos so emotional and worked up. He screams, you should always be willing to risk your life for your work. Hero work. Also, I never knew I needed so many of these fights in my life until now. Cementos vs Giten? That's an awesome combination of powers. Speaking of which, Edgeshot vs Redestro? Okay. Redestro notes that Edgeshot's quirk feels really unpleasant and he's being cut up by him, but that he can take it and none of these blows are lethal or even serious. Perhaps Edgeshot can't find a way to knock out Redestro like he did Kurogiri and the other villains during this arc with their lungs. Redestro is aware of Shigaraki's awakened state and proclaims to his Liberation Army soldiers, you guys should follow Gigantomachia and then Shigaraki to achieve liberation and salvation. I like that we still have this tie-in with the Liberation Army because it really feels like the League of Villains and the Liberation Army are coming together to form that true organization, the Paranormal Liberation Front. We then have the part that you've all been waiting for, the pro heroes versus Gigantomachia. If it was even a fight. Kamui Woods has Midnight on his back and they're trying to get closer to this walking disaster. Kamui Woods encourages Mount Lady, hey, keep holding Gigantomachia back. But to no avail, as Gigantomachia just grabs her and throws her aside. Don't forget that these two new heroes are rumored to be dating. Can you imagine watching your girlfriend go through that? I don't know. I'm not sure what I would do. I mean, especially when Gigantomachia is shown later dragging her across the ground, I might lose my composure. I guess the only thing that kind of helps Kamui Woods is that he's with her and they're kind of, tag teaming here to slow him down, but man, that's gotta be rough. Midnight, on the other hand, has not lost any of her composure and realizes that the Jaku hospital operation may have very well failed and tells Kamui Woods to head towards Shigaraki so she can put him to sleep with her quirk. This is really interesting because as we know, Deku and Bakugo are currently engaging Shigaraki with the help of pro heroes and Eraser, staring him down, erasing his quirks. So perhaps if Midnight was already there or was just assigned there from the beginning, I mean maybe she would have died with Shigaraki's decay, but if not, and she could use her quirk to put him to sleep, the heroes might have already captured Shigaraki. Kinda reminds me of Infinity War when all the heroes are holding down Thanos and then Mantis gets on his shoulder and puts him to sleep. I mean, it still didn't work, but it was a good effort, so maybe Midnight would have more success than her. As Kamui Woods and Midnight approach Gigantomachia, Dabi unleashes a fire blast at them, taunting them, but Midnight is able to dodge. Well, actually it's only because Kamui Woods uses his vines to push her forward away from the fire, and if you look closely, there's a silhouette in those flames. Now, Kamui isn't dead since being wood doesn't necessarily mean that fire is a one-hit KO, and we see him later in the chapter, but he's gotta be hurting right now. Also, this is kind of payback for Dabi when Kamui bound him during the Bakugo rescue arc. Midnight, on the other hand, continuing her attack, meets an attack from Mr. Compress and gets thrown to the forest floor below her, and she's in serious condition. She notes that this is bad, and she does have the ability to put Gigantomachia to sleep, but he's just too big. As for this situation, dang, it's truly pathetic, and it's just hopeless. I really love how this arc is taking heroes and villains, and in one instance they're winning, and then in the next they're losing all hope. Come on, heroes, don't give up. Midnight gets on the comms and informs Yaoyorozu of the situation. She says, look, you need to use Jiro's ears and Shoji's eyes to locate our enemy, and once you have Gigantomachia and the Paranormal Liberation Front on our scopes, we're not going to be able to take them out with attacks. We need to put them all to sleep using anesthesia. Yaoyorozu, I put my trust in you. Sensei? Midnight Sensei! Listen, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it looks like the clock has struck 12 on midnight. I only hope that Aizawa and Present Mike can keep her memory alive as they fight for the future. We have this panel that Midnight is reflecting in about Yaoyorozu. Maybe she's observing her while she's taking an exam or something, but she's thinking, this girl, Creati, she'll be a good leader in the future. So if there's a silver lining to all of this, at least we get Yaoyorozu Rising Part 2. We also see Yaoyorozu wrestling with this decision and responsibility. What will you do, Yaomomo? Will you run? Will you make them sleep? Will you fight? Yaoyorozu summons her courage, like we all knew she would, and tells Earphone Jack and Tentacle, guys, use your abilities and estimate the distance between us and that thing, and, of course, the Paranormal Liberation Front. And Jiro's like, yeah, they're only like 10 seconds away, so we might want to pick up the pace here. Here's some teamwork. Tie your giant girlfriend to the leg of a giant using your vines. It's not the team up we wanted, but it's definitely the one we needed, and it's working. Mount Lady and Kamui Woods being dragged along by Gigantomachia, it's slowing him down. Mount Lady's even making jokes. This is the first time I've been hanging on to a boy since middle school. Listen, it might not be All Might smiling and reassuring people that it's going to be okay, but I applaud Mount Lady right here for having a sense of humor. Also, Kamui Woods, come get your lady. Finally, we have this great moment where Class 1A comes together and decides that they will fight, along with Class 1B. Yaoyorozu, in another just perfect character development moment, says, I can't expect to be a hero if I turn my back and show my tail to the enemy. Yaoyorozu does create jars of some type of substance, possibly anesthesia like Midnight told her to, and distributes them among her classmates. Denki says, you don't have to tell me twice. If you put a costume on outside, you're a hero. And Yaoyorozu says, hey villains, we're right here. Two things here. One, how do they actually pull this off and defeat Gigantomachia? Well, here's my personal strategy. Now, I'm assuming that these jars are filled with anesthesia. So, step 1, Mudman from Class 1B makes the ground soft and stops Gigantomachia in his tracks and brings him to a halt so that the villains have to hop off of him and fight. Step 2, they launch the canisters into the air. Jiro uses her earphone jack to break the glass over them, thus knocking out the villains with whatever gas or maybe it's liquid anesthesia that's in the jars. Students like Denki Kaminari can use his electricity to support these heroes and limit villain mobility and stop them from fleeing. And then Komori, the mushroom girl, can actually use her ability just to put villains to sleep by herself. I think Tetsu and Kirishima have an interesting role here with their steel and hardening quirks. If you remember, Tetsu took on Shoto and his flames during the Class 1A, Class 1B joint training arc, and he weathered them. I mean, barely. But maybe Tetsu can really shine here and outlast Dabi's flames and protect people. And the same for Kirishima. Maybe he can act as a shield as well. Students like Shoji can say "Begone thought" to Toga, and then other supporting students, we just don't see them that much, like Sato and Ojiro can maybe beat up Skeptic and subdue Mr. Compress. Lastly, Yaoyorozu could create something really special to handle Gigantomachia, like a huge anesthesia cannon, or perhaps if Kirishima can harden himself enough, actually launch Kirishima from a cannon and knock out Gigantomachia, or at least make him fall over, and that way he's easier to subdue. She could also create gas masks or some type of breathing apparatus so that the heroes won't be subdued by their own anesthesia. And don't forget that they still have 2 pro heroes with them, although they're a bit tired. Finally, students like Mina Ashido and Mineta could handle some of the Liberation Army soldiers to keep these smaller threats out of the way while the other heroes deal with Gigantomachia. I think this combination of skills works. Number 2, we have to be prepared now that the students have chosen to fight the most dangerous villain besides Shigaraki, that there may be a death in Class 1A and Class 1B. Listen, I hope they got the stuff for knocking out the villains, and I hope their plan works out perfectly. But in this arc, when have we seen a plan work out like it's expected to? We have to be reticent of the fact that they may very well have to improvise, and there might be mistakes made. Some students may lose their lives, or maybe even lose their ability to be heroes in the near future. Or maybe Mineta will just die a heroic death and then everyone will be happy. Thanks for watching. Please comment, what is your plan for defeating Gigantomachia and the Paranormal Liberation Front? Which student does what? Give me the play-by-play, and I'll do my best to read all of these comments and all of these theories and all of these battle plans. So let me know down below. If you like My Hero Academia content, join UA today by subscribing so that you can help the students face Gigantomachia. And until next time, plus ultra.
夜